What is up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Off the Mic Wrestling Show here on YouTube. I am Mike Mayer. You can follow me at Off the Mic 28. Follow the show at OT Mike Wrestling on both YouTube and Twitter. What an episode of Monday Night Raw tonight! This was every segment meant something, even if it was on like a little bit. Like some of the other matches, like really didn't like stick, but everything had a purpose tonight. Even with some of the lesser matches involving Sonya Deville's group, like they meant something tonight. But the star of the show tonight was Rhea Ripley. You saw it from the opening frame, and honestly, if they would have ended the show with Rhea, it would have told the entire story of the show. Rhea, I think, popped up about 5 or 6 times on this show, and that just shows you what a freaking star this woman is. Like the aura, just getting out of the elevator and following her right out to start the show. Her big return pop last year. I cannot say enough good things about this Rhea Ripley metamorphosis into this megastar. And the one person in WWE, I mean, not even a female, the one person that I could honestly point to that has benefited the most from Triple H taking over in creative is Rhea Ripley. Because if you remember, back in 2021 and early 2022, Rhea was in a tag team. Rhea was just getting thrown into the Judgment Day. She had been a tag team champion with Nikki Ash, who's now Nikki Cross and is in the Wyatt Six. She was a tag team partner with Liv Morgan, which they're now finally paying off in a storyline. But Rhea Ripley has become the ace of the women's division and arguably the biggest star in WWE. I am not exaggerating in that because this woman, just every time she is involved in something, she carries herself, she shows herself off as powerful, so it's like a great thing for women to show. And her whole vibe with Dominic and being in control of everything as opposed to being property is a very powerful thing in a society where the perceptions of how women are treated is a big deal. So everything about this Rhea Ripley character, just as I start to get into this show, I cannot say enough good things about Rhea Ripley. And the way that she has carried herself, the way that she has been portrayed, everything has been nailed since Triple H took over. And she is probably the biggest beneficiary of the transition out of Vince McMahon and into Triple H, because Vince McMahon did not have a freaking clue on what to do with Rhea Ripley. Like NXT Women's Championship match against Charlotte Flair in the COVID WrestleMania, and Rhea taps out. You look at it 3 years later, WrestleMania 39. I was there here in Los Angeles. She beats Charlotte Flair clean. They had that just annoying feud in 2021 where it was spread out over a bunch of stuff. Nikki Ash was involved in it. Vince McMahon did not have a clue how to book this woman. And she's now in her element. She has evolved as a character. And like I said, just from the minute that first shot of the show started, it was just picture perfect and just aura just oozing out of this woman. And she is seriously, I cannot say enough good things about her. So let's start with this. Like I said, the signature shot of WWE, they get one of these in per show, walks out to the ring from an elevator and literally through the entire backstage area to the ring, cuts a promo, and she basically remarks about how she's been gone for 3 months exactly. And then basically she just addresses Liv and basically says, I've seen Liv running around with something that I never lost and something that's important to me. Everybody thinks she's talking about Dom, and it's like, no, I'm talking about the women's world title. She challenges Liv to come out. Out comes Dom Mysterio, the heat magnet, with a black rose. There's so much Eddie Guerrero and China from about 25 years ago in this. And it's just, it's beautiful to watch. It really is. It's a nice callback. Liv then shows up on the Tron and says some very sexual stuff and basically saying, I had a very long week in Mexico. I've always been known to be quite a screamer. And then reminds her that she wanted to take everything from Rhea, and initially she didn't want anything to do with Dom and didn't know what Rhea saw in him, but then started to hang out with him and sort of the falling in love. The contrast in these two women really works in this feud, where Liv is trying to appeal to Dom and trying to win him over sexually. Rhea is like in control of Dom. So it's a different vibe that you're getting from these two women, and I think that's what makes this feud really click and really work, because you're seeing the different dynamics and how they interact with Dom. Um, and Rhea's just so appealing to being in control, whereas Liv is trying to get Dom's affection. So it's a very interesting vibe. Then basically Rhea says Mommy's finally home, or actually Liv says Mommy might be finally home, but Liv is finally on top, um, and then Dom basically alludes to, hey, yeah, this whole thing is not what it looks like. Um, and then Rhea says she knew like she knew she was gonna be scared of Rhea Liv's Revenge tour, or Liv was gonna be scared of Rhea when she came back because she knew her revenge tour was gonna end. Um, and then you know Liv basically says that, hey, she's not the same Liv Morgan, and she's gonna beat Rhea at SummerSlam. The whole thing sets up the match at SummerSlam, and the really the powerful thing at the end of this is Rhea says she will not only end Liv Morgan's revenge tour at SummerSlam, her title reign will end, but also her career. And then she mounts "Watch Me" right at the camera, the signature Liv Morgan catchphrase. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful segment to start this show. You get to the back, and Rhea just throws a bunch of flowers in Dom's face as Damian Priest is just like saying, "Dude, what the hell are you doing? Like, what'd you expect was gonna happen?" And and that was hinted at later on in the show when they interacted, and there was a fun segment with Jey Uso. Sheamus versus Bronson Reed's the first match of this show. First of all, one of the biggest travesties to the wrestling space is Def Rebel. I don't know what Def Rebel has over WWE's head. If they have some like naked photos or something, they continue to produce terrible music. Outside of a few holdouts, they continue to produce terrible musical themes. And why they decided to put out whatever that atrocity is that Sheamus came out to, it was a nice little graphic that they came up with, but the music sucked. You bring back Too Many Lives, which is the iconic theme song of Sheamus. He's been in this for 15 years. It's been away from us for almost a decade. And you bring this crap in. Why? Why do you do that? But anyway, this was a quintessential Big E special. A lot of big moves, big meaty men slapping me. Sheamus hits a shoulder tackle, then he hits the 10 beats of the Bowdrin, going to break on the table. He actually hugged Pat McAfee on commentary when he was all sweaty, so that was interesting. They build to this big moment where Sheamus hits the white noise, the standing air raid crash, for a big 2 count. And then Sheamus runs into a sick-looking sit-out powerbomb from Bronson for 2. Bronson then goes for his moonsault, misses. And then Sheamus just hits a knee, not the bro kick, just hits a high knee for the 3 count and wins this match. Got the job done. Good starter for the show. Then Bronson Reed goes to attack Sheamus after the match, but Pete Dunne saves him. And then Sheamus tries to get a handshake. Dunne runs away. Sheamus's back is turned. Pete Dunne clobbers him in the back. It leads to Bronson getting his heat back with the tsunami, and that's the end of the segment. What's interesting about this is I really think that this was supposed to be the spot for Ludwig Kaiser. Not necessarily saving Sheamus, but to have some sort of heel involved with some sort of story with Sheamus. And at least Pete Dunne has that. It comes across a little bit wonky, but listen, I said this last week. Any more Pete Dunne on the television is good for me. This guy's fantastic in the ring, and I actually think they could tell a really compelling story and, continue having Sheamus, just putting on banger after banger. And that's great. So then we get to the back. We're in the Judgment Day clubhouse. It's Rhea and Damian are talking, and Rhea appreciates Damian for keeping it together despite all he's got going on. And then she asks basically like, "What the hell is Carlito doing in the clubhouse?" And then Dom comes into the shot, basically says he's been reaching out all week, and Rhea says, "What the hell? Why not the last 3 months?" And you've been hanging out with your girlfriend, referencing Liv. That's the end of the segment, or that's the end of the segment. This was a bad night for Dom. Dom just continually just kept sticking his foot in his mouth with some stupid crap that he was doing this entire. That was really, like I said, Rhea and the Dom thing carried the whole show. It didn't finish the show, which I thought was interesting. I understand why they didn't, and it probably wasn't gonna. If you were gonna get there, maybe if it was gonna be Dom, Jey Uso, if they would have had something else, maybe they could have finished it off there. But like I said, Rhea was the star of this show and really like carried several segments on the show, and you could just see the star power that she has. Um, then we get a promo with Ilya Dragunov and Sami Zayn. They're fighting for the Intercontinental title. That ends up being the main event, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Interesting choices in terms of what WWE placed, and it might be just strictly television, and they were going up against the Home Run Derby, which typically is a well-watched event on MLB All-Star Week, MLB All-Star MLB All-Star Weekend, and stemming into Tuesday with the game. Usually it rates pretty well, even though baseball, there's not many baseball fans in the wrestling space, but, you know, that's kind of my theory of what happened. But basically, it's a really nice exchange between these two, talking about the respect they have for each other. Ilya is basically saying, "Yeah, I didn't save you last week to get the title shot," and it's like, "Sammy, I wanted it," and they lobby to bring the best out of each other, and basically, you know, that's really where it was, and I was really looking forward to this match. You knew there wasn't probably going to be a finish, and that Braun Breaker was going to be involved, and there was more stuff going on. Then we get a Gunther hype package, and this was another great part of this show, was the way that they built up Gunther, Damian Priest. I'll talk about that segment in a little bit, but another hype package, just basically framing, hey, like, I came in NXT and saved it. I restored the IC title. I won the King of the Ring, and now I'm going to bring prestige to the World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam. So simple, effective, well done. Then Zelina Vega is doing a little backstage interview. Says she's got no love for Rhea or Liv, but when they're done with the love triangle or whatever the hell they're dealing with, she's next in line. She gets confronted by the new trio. I don't know what they're called yet, but Sonya Deville, Shayna Baszler, and Zoe Stark confront her. Sonya says the line starts with them. Zelina says she can't see anything past this Sonya's forehead, and that was a pretty funny hit. They challenge each other in a match. This was, I mean, listen, it was a short match. I'm not really for short matches between Sonya and Zelina. Zelina goes to the 619. Ref is distracted, and then Shayna does her spot where she traps the arm and then kicks it, it leads to Sonya's finisher. They get the win. Then they beat up Zelina after the match, and it's Lyra, Kaden, and Katana coming in for the save, as they're now a little bit of an alliance. So yeah, this was effective. It gets over the new trio in the women's division, establishing them as a force. And like, I like all three of these women. I know a lot of people aren't really in and don't really get Zoe Stark, but hopefully this group kind of evolves, because I think Sonya Deville is great. I think Shayna Baszler is great. Making these an effective heel team, I think, could be good for the women's division, especially if you're gonna talk about having Bianca Belair, and I know this didn't happen on Raw. If you're going to talk about having Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill get the tag team titles back, and I think that's where this is going. It's nice that Isla Dawn and Alba Fire got the tag team titles, but Isla Dawn was losing on a house show in Mexico to Stephanie LaCare twice. That tells you what WWE kind of thinks of Isla Dawn. Okay, I mean, I get it. It's a house show, but you know, that's just what this is. Like, Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill are going to get those titles back. And my point is, if you're going to do that, you need heel teams to establish. And if you get a trio like this, that's perfect. And that really gets the job done. And I think you can establish something moving forward. And because you need more teams in this women's division if you're actually going to start having people give a damn about it. Then we get to the aforementioned Damian, Dominic Mysterio, and Jey Uso segment. This was funny. Dom basically asked Damian Priest why he didn't warn him that Rhea was coming back, and he was like saying, "Why?" Damian basically responds, "Why did you lie to me?" Jey Uso comes up and basically wonders if the rumors are true, if Rhea's single and ready to mingle. Jay just being non-serious, and this whole thing is fantastic. Um, and then Jay walks off, and Damian says, "Hey, you're gonna let Jay talk about Rhea, and you got to show that Rhea belongs to you." So he's putting words in Dom's mouth that end up screwing him up in the past. So I don't know if that was by design, or if it was just just Damian being Damian, because he's like the bigger brother for Dominic. And so yeah, really interesting thing. Then Adam Pearce and Chad Gable. Chad Gable trying to be the genius that he thinks he is, saying he knows that Bo Dallas is actually Uncle Howdy, and he said he's going to challenge Bo Dallas later in the night. Then we get to, honestly, I can't say enough good things about this promo between Damian Priest and Gunther. I was not interested in this match from like a story perspective. These guys are going to put on a banger. They're two fantastic wrestlers. But there was no heat in this feud. It was just, okay, Damian Priest wins. He's facing Gunther. And then we kind of addressed the elephant in the room last week, but they hadn't really faced off. And we're 2 weeks until the show, 2 weeks from Saturday. And this promo, I cannot say enough good things about what this did, because it added genuine emotion to this. It added hatred. It added heat. And this is exactly what a world championship feud looks like. And honestly, everybody's going to talk about how great Gunther was in this, because Gunther pretty much cooked and almost eviscerated Damian. But Damian held his freaking own. He's not known, neither one of these guys are known as great promo guys, but this was such a inspired effort from both of these guys. It got a little bit uncomfortable, but it was the right kind of uncomfortable, to the point of, okay, we understand that, okay, Gunther does not respect Damian Priest. He thinks he's beneath him, and he's going to hit him hard with it. And Damian, to his credit, basically says, hey, listen, I grew up in the streets, and I had to fight for everything in my life. And Gunther's like this high and mighty guy saying, yeah, I got everything spoon-fed to me. Like, the mat is sacred. Like, I'm above all this. Like, I'm going to beat you. Your world title reign sucks. And it was just, Gunther, like, just going straight and calling him basically calling him street trash. And I was just like, first thing that popped into my head, and I know this is going to sound terrible or weird, are we trying to portray Damian Priest as like the Puerto Rican Aladdin now? Like, what are we doing? But like, the angle of that, it actually works here, because we're talking about, Gunther talks about, oh, it's by choice, and like WWE was begging to sign him, like all these other things, and like, and then Damian comes back with a good line saying to Gunther, saying, yeah, you don't see why you lost to WrestleMania. It's because you don't have heart. And he called Gunther a boring, conceited scumbag. And this was fantastic. Everything that you needed for a big time match between two guys who really need the title more than need the title. And like, they're not necessarily elevating the title. This is one of those rare cases where the title kind of sort of makes the man, rather than the man makes the title. This is why, like, okay, you see a Seth Rollins and a Drew McIntyre embroiled with CM Punk not anywhere near the world title, or not getting the world title, because there's so much, they don't even need it right now. And like I said, it's helping Damian Priest elevate him to this new level, but he hadn't really met it until tonight. And like I said, I cannot say enough good things about Damian Priest. This is probably his best promo in WWE. Gunther has sneaky been good on promos, but he's not like world renowned, but he gets the job done. And like I said, this really established an interesting dynamic and a great story going into SummerSlam, where it's really personal. And like I said, great stuff here, really accomplished what it needed to do. And like I said, a prime example of why the show was so great is like a lot of the key angles and a lot of the loose ends that you needed to tie up leading into one of your biggest shows of the year. This was one of them. Great job. Then we get an Adam Pearce segment. He confirms Jay and Dom for later in the night. And then Braun Breaker threatens to just basically blow up the main event. And like Braun says he's threatened to get escorted out by security. He just walks out. We all know where this is going. So security guards in WWE or even pro wrestling are just never really great. Like I talked about this on my Dynamite post show. Um, the security guards in that Britt Baker Mercedes Moné segment were just awful. It's just the reality of the way things are and way security they're geeks. So then we get Damian Priest versus Braun Strowman. Braun really overpowers in the early going of this match, but then Strowman has DP on Damian Priest on the outside and goes for a Strowman Express thing, full speed. Priest sidesteps, sends him over the barricade. Braun is hurt. He's selling his knee and his hamstrings for basically the rest of the match. I'm not sure if he was really hurt or not. Braun continues to sell, but he gets his comeback with a couple forearms. They both try a choke slam. Priest knocks Strowman down with a bunch of kicks, and then tries to really go for the kill, and then Braun tries to counter with this running power slam, but his knees give out. We get a South to Heaven from Damian Priest, and Damian Priest goes over Braun Strowman clean. I thought this was really good. I mean, you put Damian over with that great promo, and then you have him beat a monster like a Braun Strowman. Obviously, the leg part of it, we'll have to see. I'm led to believe that it was selling, but there's some debate of, man, was he really, really hurt because he was really selling it? Either way, like, it's kudos to Braun Strowman for either A, toughing it out or selling it like a man, selling like a man there. Like, that was amazing. Gunther comes back. He gets a chop in. Damian Priest gets some punches in. Gunther lands another chop, and then Damian gets a clothesline, and they separate. That's all we get. So yeah, like I said, all this stuff with Gunther and Damian Priest, I think honestly, some of the best stuff that they did on this show. Obviously, like I said, Rhea was really the star of this, but Damian and Gunther heading in their match at SummerSlam, miles ahead of where they were an hour like before this show started. So mission accomplished. Then we get Chad Gable meeting up with his old cohorts in the Alpha Academy, and he thinks Maxine and Tozawa and Otis are talking about him, and they're talking about teaming up or being a friend with them. And Xavier Woods comes in, and basically thanks them for teaming with him next week in a match against the Final Testament. I guess that's going to be set up for next week. Fun match between Caden Carter and Katana Chance against Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler. Sonya Deville and Lyra Valkyria were both out there. So there's a blind tag that gets the heels a control of this match early on. Then we get a slingshot cannonball after Chance tags in Carter. Both heels are on the outside, and they hit their keg stand, Katana Chance and Caden Carter to the outside. We go to break there. That was a cool spot. Then the heels take over. Zoe gets a knee in on Chance, and then Shayna gets in. Katana then hits the moonsault knees, and then they get an assisted one, which is really cool. And then the finish of the match, like I said, this really I think it's got the job done in establishing Zoe, Shayna, and Sonya as like a really intimidating new heel group in the women's division, which is what this women's division really needs, especially on the tag team level. So Katana goes up top, Sonya gets involved, Lyra gets involved as well. Zoe kicks her from the apron. That looked wicked. And then Katana then eats the new assisted powerbomb position, drop into a knee from Zoe and Shayna. And Zoe and Shayna get the win. So good for them. Got the job done. The heels get over. That's really what they need. Then we get another Rhea Ripley segment. And like I said, I am not complaining about Rhea Ripley. Like, you put your stars in high-profile spot, and Rhea Ripley was all over the show. It was exactly, they were all great, and they all really established who Rhea Ripley is and what she means to the show. So Dom basically explains to Rhea why he got the match with Jay. Rhea asks, why are you doing this? And then Dom says he'll go and cancel, and then Rhea basically says, are you a coward? Then Dom says to Rhea, he wants to show people that she's still his mommy, and she belongs to him. Rhea then goes, excuse me, and storms out. Carlito, low-key being the best part of the Judgment Day, saying, that's not cool. again, what I said is the way Rhea Ripley has carried herself and the way she has been presented as the strong and like, powerful woman. This is exactly the type of character that you need to carry this women's division. Like, I have a sister who's just getting into wrestling, and her big problem with women's wrestling is there's not a lot of intimidating, like, female characters or female performers that are presented in a way where you could basically say to yourself, well, yeah, I think that woman could go kick that guy's ass. And Rhea Ripley is like the prime example of that. Like, you could maybe say that about Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch to a degree, but Rhea Ripley, like I said, just by having like that little comment and just like, being offended by the way Dom is acting, it's just like this whole like, dynamics of males and females in certain places. And like, this is, I really liked where this is. And this is why, like I said, Rhea is honestly one of the biggest beneficiaries of Triple H because of the way she's being presented and just how you can market this type of stuff to women and young girls to aspire to be a strong and powerful woman like a Rhea Ripley. So like like I said, I can't say enough good things about Rhea Ripley on this show. Then we get to really a feisty segment between Drew McIntyre and Adam Pearce. Pierce alludes to, hey, we're on the verge of something special. Everybody wants to see CM Punk and you face. And he basically says, how badly do you want it? And Drew's ready to go along with it. Drew then asks two referees who were involved in the altercation at Money in the Bank and asks Drew to apologize to them. And if you do that, you're getting the match. And Drew's like thinking, hey, why are you embarrassing me? Why are you being unreasonable? And then he looks like he's about to apologize, and Drew just says, why would I apologize? You guys have been screwing me over like the last 9 months. And then Drew basically tells Adam Pearce he deserved it, blames Pearce. Pearce then says he's still suspended. Drew then shoves both refs, is about to hit Pearce, and out comes Seth Rollins for the save. He kicks Drew in the face. Drew runs off. The big thing here with Drew McIntyre is the character development of this guy. When he was in limbo last year, a lot of people didn't know where he was going to end up. He was teaming with Riddle randomly at the end of last year. Ever since we got to the tail end of 2023, he had the arc with Jey Uso, and then we have the whole thing that gets paid off with CM Punk. Also, again, I've said this before, CM Punk has wrestled one match since November. And yet somehow this is the hottest angle in WWE and the hottest angle in wrestling. The other company can't keep CM Punk's name out of their damn mouth. He's such a lightning rod. It's amazing how much buzz this guy can generate. But back to Drew here. The guy, I didn't even mention it, when he's walking into the ring before they tease the segment before going to break, the way he has this look on his face and he comes out smiling like he's finally going to get his everything that he wants. And then the minute that Adam Pearce puts something on him and he goes right back into that obsessed Scottish psychopath who's just deranged and is on the warpath because he wants CM Punk. This is just fantastic TV. Like Drew McIntyre, like I talk about Rhea Ripley being an MVP. Drew has absolutely put a lot of faith in Triple H. Hey, I'm not winning the world title in my home country. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to continually get screwed over, but it's going to pay off in the hottest angle in pro wrestling. And this guy has knocked it out of the park. I can't wait to see whatever this is. It could be a triple threat. I have no idea because we don't know the health of CM Punk. If CM Punk is under 100%, I could honestly see them going triple threat here and threading that out of this and doing something at a Bad Blood in like a Hell in a Cell match and potentially going there and figuring out what they want to do after that. If CM Punk is good to go, it should absolutely be CM Punk and Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam. No disrespect to Seth Rollins. They could probably have him be an outside enforcer, be interjected into this whole thing because he doesn't like either guy. So maybe making the special referee or something. I don't know. But I honestly get the feel that Seth Rollins will be involved in this match at SummerSlam in some capacity. But either way, this was great. Then we get, holy crap, this was fantastic. And honestly, this or the Drew McIntyre segment should have main evented over Ilya versus Sami Zayn, which was the Intercontinental title match, which is fine, but it was just sort of weird and it felt out of place there in that main event spot. So Wyatt 6 It's an interview with Eric Rowan. My God, this was so freaking powerful. Um, Raw emotion. You really connected with him. You've never really heard Eric Rowan talk, but he talks about like losing Bray Wyatt and losing Luke Harper. I can't imagine the pain that this man has gone through in the last 3, 4 years. Losing two of his best friends, two of his brothers, and being brought back into this. It's just like it's so incredible to see what this man has gone through. And um it's just like he talks about having no more family and he fell down into a well and didn't want to get out, and then who's gonna miss me? I'm just Rowan. Like this is just he talks about how the rabbit mask really gave him hope. So this really connected you with Eric Rowan and why he's doing this, and that's what's different from a lot of these Wyatt segments that really connected with a lot of the audience. And like I said, the past Wyatt segments, they weren't that great because there was a lot of supernatural element to them. And you go in and you look at it, and these segments where you're talking about Bo Dallas and getting to know these real people. And the end line was really great. We're going to take our broken hearts and make some beautiful art. That was beautiful. This was so well done. I know the question is, when are they going to wrestle? How is this going to get portrayed? How are we going to get across the supernatural stuff? Because the other extension of this with Bo Dallas later on in the night, it was an interesting little thing that they had play out. But this was so great. One of the best promos I've seen all year. Eric Rowan knocked it out of the park. Then we get Dom Mysterio against Jey Uso. Really, what this came down to was this really advanced the Liv Dom and Rhea thing. So Dom is going. So Dom gets distracted so Jay is taking control of this match and has a corner splash. But then Liv. So basically, Jay's going for the Uso splash, and Liv saves Dom. Then Jay does the knocking Liv or Dom into Liv. Dom is on top of Liv. Liv then goes on top of Dom. Rhea comes out. Music goes crazy. Liv gets the hell out of there. Runs all the way up the stairs and heels no less. That was impressive. Dom gets back into the ring after being in a shouting match with Rhea. He eats a spear in the Uso splash for the win. After the match, Dom goes backstage and he meets up with Damian Priest, who's just laughing at him. Rhea, again, big thing, being the powerful woman that she is, says, I belong to no one. The Dom belongs to her. Again, great stuff. Just great stuff in the way that they're presenting Rhea. Then a big promo between Chad Gable and Bo Dallas. Gable calls out, and then the Creeds just jump Bo Dallas. Bo is smiling and laughing during the whole beatdown. They just continue beating him up. Chad gets a nasty-looking German suplex in. Bo just keeps laughing. The lights go out. Wyatt 6 come out. Chad and the Creeds bail. Bo gets up, poses with the group, and then the segment goes to black. This was great. It was simple. It was effective. You establish these people, and it's just like the Wyatts haven't done anything physical, and yet they're honestly one of the most interesting things in WWE. That says a lot about all the people involved. So job well done. Then the main event, Ilya Dragunov, Sami Zayn, a lot of heavy hitting. Ilya got near the end of this match. Ilya gets a German suplex, goes for an H-bomb, but Sami gets an exploder that looked nasty in the corner. They set up for the haluva kick, but Ilya connects with a really nasty-looking boot for 2. And then Ilya goes for an H-bomb. Sami kicks him in the face for 2. Then Ilya hits an H-bomb on the floor and then hits a coast-to-coast drop kick and then goes for a senton. Knees to the back by Sami. Haluva kick that on the apron that sends Ilya down to the floor. Out comes Braun Breaker. You see him at the top of the ramp. You get the overhead shot. He sprints all the way down and ends up spearing Ilya Dragunov almost into the steps. That's a DQ. Breaker then hits a belly-to-belly suplex and then a massive spear where he goes off the ropes about 4 or 5 times. And that's it. Braun Breaker's the last segment. Is it good for Braun Breaker? I think Braun Breaker's going to be fine. I just thought that this was weird in terms of this ended the show. And I think the theory is that in the 7 o'clock hour, they wanted to put Drew McIntyre there. That was the biggest thing that they had. And you could have put the Wyatts at the end, but they wanted to end with a match, I guess, because in the 7 o'clock Pacific hour, 10 o'clock Eastern, the Home Run Derby's going on. A lot of people are tuning in to that. They wanted to counter program and maybe bring some people over and try to win over that. So maybe that's my theory. And again, it's television. I always am of the belief that you end with your best stuff. And I think that, again, it was a great show. I think it was an odd ending. I don't think it affected how I reacted to the show, but still, job well done. All right, a couple things really quickly here that I want to address. That's Raw. Honestly, like I said, fabulous show. Everything on the show meant something, even some of the smaller stuff. Like I said, the Sonya Deville, Zelina Vega, and all that stuff. You establish a new heel team. Even Sheamus in a lower mid, or like I'm not gonna say lower upper, like somewhere in the middle of the mid card. You get something with him and Pete Dunne. So like I said, a lot of stuff on the show, even for a 3-hour show, it flew by, and a lot of stuff mattered here. So I need to address something here, because something really pissed me off on the internet. Of course, it's Tony Khan, because Tony Khan just drives me crazy all the time, and the AEW sycophants. So Tony Khan was quoted. I don't even know where this was. I don't really care, but he was quoted as saying he was talking about Adam Copeland, formerly known as Edge, and he basically said, "quote He arguably has been on the greatest run of his entire legendary career," which is really saying something because he had so many great matches, so many great runs. Okay, there's so much wrong with this. If you're gonna tell me that since October of last year to now, in July, you're going to tell me that that's the best run of Adam Copeland / Edge's career. Okay. First of all, that's BS. It's absolute BS. I could probably name you at least 2 to 3, maybe 4 better years that Adam Copeland had in the 25 that he had in WWE. What are you talking about? I understand that you're posturing. Some people are saying, oh, he's promoting the show. Adam Copeland has been out for 2 months with an injury on a stupid spot that he even admits was dumb. Yes, you had the Christian Cage feud, which was the easiest thing in the world to book. Best friends that WWE could never figure out how to book that feud. I give them credit for that. They did what they needed to do. The Malachi Black stuff was even entertaining. What else has he done since he got to AEW that is even more entertaining? This guy won 11 world titles. 11. This guy main evented WrestleMania twice. Twice he main evented WrestleMania. He has maybe one of the greatest WrestleMania matches that I've ever seen in my life against Mick Foley in a hardcore match, where he went through a flaming table. Edge is one of the best ever, but stop trying to rewrite history like his career in WWE wasn't as good as it was. Yeah, is he positioned as, like in the upper echelons, like a John Cena or a Randy Orton or an Undertaker? No, he's not. He's still a Hall of Famer. He came back after a career-threatening neck injury and managed to put together one of his best runs in the 3-4 year period that he had in WWE during the pandemic and a lot of other stages in that. But slow down for a second. He's had some banger matches. None of them have meant 50 feet of crap. God, that just frustrated me because I love Edge. Edge is one of my favorites of all time. But let's not act like he's climbed Mount Everest in AEW yet. He got hurt. That's been the MO on Edge, Adam Copeland, and like I said, you're going to tell me that anything that he did with John Cena or Undertaker or Randy Orton in the 25 years that the Edge Christian tag team. I named you 2 feuds in 6 months that he's been active in AEW. The hell else has he done? I love Edge, but that's BS. TNA Slammiversary is sold out, 4,000 tickets in Montreal. I heard it's the most attended event in over a decade. Good for TNA, and I hope they do something right. And you know what? We'll have to see the Phenomenal One show up there. And then looks like AEW is looking into potentially doing a stadium show next year. I would suggest that, hey, let's get All In out of London because you can't keep running Wembley Stadium every year, and you're probably going to get, I'd say, 60 to 75% of the attendance that you had last year. You're not going to draw as much. I think the interest in, like, doing it in a bigger venue, I think you could do it in Houston. You could do it at, I think it's still called Minute Maid Park. I can't, or you got Globe Life in Arlington. I don't think they could run AT&T Stadium. I just don't think they can do that. So if you're going to do a stadium, I would do a baseball stadium. Maybe you could do a soccer stadium in Texas. I'm not really familiar with a lot of the layouts of the soccer stadiums in Texas, but that seems like a good market to run this in. And but listen, AEW's got bigger fish to fry before they get there. So, like I said, if you're going to obsess about Adam Copeland and he's not even on your roster, you're trying to hype up shows, let's get to AEW Dynamite. We'll see how it goes. They've booked it. I think they've overbooked it. I think it's been stupid that they've just loaded up a bunch of matches that you could throw on pay-per-view. But we'll get there. We'll talk about AEW Dynamite on Wednesday night. I'll talk to you guys real soon. Thanks for tuning in. Follow the show at OT Mike Wrestling on YouTube and Twitter. Follow me at Off the Mic 28. I will talk to you guys real soon. Bye-bye.